The human brain, that magnificent engine of self-deception, has engineered a particularly cruel irony. It allows us to meticulously reconstruct our happiest moments, only to then inflict a distinct, almost physical ache in the process. If you're intrigued by the brain's baffling ability to turn golden memories into a bittersweet ache and want to decode its methods, consider subscribing for more revelations. We all know the sensation. A flash of sunlight on an old photograph, a forgotten melody, the scent of something specific, and suddenly you are there again. The memory isn't just a recollection, it's a full sensory immersion, a ghost limb of a past reality, so vivid it momentarily eclipses the present. But then comes the sting. This isn't simple sadness or regret. It's a specialized, paradoxical pain, a phantom limb syndrome for joy itself, where the very act of remembering pleasure brings an undeniable, heavy melancholy. This isn't a flaw in your emotional wiring. It's a feature, a complex cognitive mechanism designed to keep you locked in a peculiar form of psychological time travel, a journey that ends, almost invariably, with a quiet, persistent yearning. The question isn't merely what this feeling is, but why our minds so diligently cultivate it. Why would a system built for survival and optimization retain, and even amplify, a process that reliably transforms past happiness into present discomfort? Is this an evolutionary misstep, a delightful irony of consciousness, or something more fundamental, a dark secret about how we perceive time, identity, and the relentless march of impermanence? The answer lies not in a simple explanation, but in a layered exploration of neurobiology, cognitive biases, and the insidious ways our own mental architecture can become a self-contained trap, forever chasing a phantom light from a moment that, by definition, can never truly exist again. This specific agony, this internal friction between vivid memory and irretrievable reality, is not merely a byproduct. It is a meticulously orchestrated performance by your own brain, and understanding its script is the first step to escaping its hold. The brain's performance begins with a remarkable trick, the selective enhancement of past positive experiences. When you remember a good time, your hippocampus isn't just pulling raw data, it's actively filtering, polishing, and often exaggerating the positive aspects while subtly dimming the negatives. This isn't an accidental oversight. It's a hardwired cognitive bias known as rosy retrospection. Our neural networks, particularly those involving dopamine and serotonin pathways, are highly attuned to reinforcing pleasant stimuli. When a past event is tagged as good, the brain effectively douses it in a neurochemical glow upon recall. This creates a psychological highlight reel, often far more pristine and perfect than the original event ever truly was. Think of the average vacation. Moments of joy, yes, but also forgotten inconveniences, petty frustrations, the inevitable travel delays. Our memory, however, frequently excises these imperfections, leaving a distilled essence of pure delight. This selective editing isn't benign. It sets an impossible standard for the present. When the brain resurrects this idealized past, it inherently creates a stark, often unfavorable contrast with the messy, imperfect reality of now. The gap between the flawless recollection and the complex present generates the first layer of that specific ache. It's the discomfort of comparison, not against an external ideal, but against a phantom perfection manufactured by your own internal editor. This neurobiological filtering, while initially designed perhaps to promote positive outlooks or learning, inadvertently becomes the engine of a profound dissatisfaction, leaving us vulnerable to a perpetual state of longing for a past that, strictly speaking, never quite existed in the form our memory presents it. It is a masterful, self-inflicted cognitive trap, an internal echo chamber of idealized former selves and circumstances, forever out of reach. This internal mechanism isn't left to operate in isolation. It is meticulously amplified and exploited by a culture obsessed with curated perfection. The commodification of nostalgia, the relentless marketing of simpler times or golden eras, directly taps into this neural vulnerability. Advertising campaigns don't sell products, they sell manufactured longing. From retro fashion to classic reboots, entire industries thrive on the bittersweet ache of remembering a good time, promising a return to an idealized past that their product supposedly unlocks. Social media platforms, in particular, are architectural marvels of nostalgic exploitation. They compel users to endlessly document peak experiences, creating an externalized, perfectly curated highlight reel that serves as both a public performance and a private archive of manufactured bliss. Each shared photograph, each carefully chosen caption, contributes to a collective illusion of constant happiness, inadvertently intensifying the psychological contrast when individuals scroll through their own feed, or worse, the feeds of others. The implicit message is clear. The past was good, the present often falls short, and future happiness is perpetually just out of reach, perhaps achievable only through another curated experience or consumer purchase. This isn't accidental, it's a deliberate design. The dopamine hit from a like on a nostalgic post reinforces the positive memory, further cementing its idealized status, creating a feedback loop that continually pushes us towards a phantom past. The economic impact is staggering. An entire ecosystem of experience-driven consumption and virtual exhibitionism, all fueled by our inherent cognitive bias towards rosy retrospection and the specific pain it generates, binding us tighter to a manufactured, unattainable ideal. The cumulative effect of this neurobiological predisposition and cultural reinforcement is a profound existential burden, a slow-burning psychological cost that silently erodes present contentment. When the pain of remembering a good time becomes a recurring mental loop, it does more than just evoke momentary sadness. It can subtly shift our baseline for happiness, rendering ordinary joys insufficient and future aspirations daunting. This persistent longing for an idealized past creates a paralysis of comparison, where new experiences are unconsciously measured against an unfairly perfect benchmark. Why bother pursuing a new hobby when it likely won't recapture the effortless bliss of a bygone passion? Why invest fully in a current relationship when it can't quite replicate the innocent intensity of a previous one? This isn't merely regret. It's a preemptive disengagement, a self-sabotaging defense mechanism born from the inevitable disappointment of comparing reality to an illusion. The mind, in its relentless pursuit of past perfection, inadvertently starves the present. This phenomenon also links to a subtle form of existential dread, the acute awareness of impermanence. The pain isn't just about the loss of the good time, but about the irreversible passage of time itself, a stark reminder that even the most vibrant experiences are fleeting. The core of the mystery, therefore, isn't just about what we remember, but how that remembrance weaponizes the passage of time against our own present psychological well-being. It is the insidious way our mental architecture, designed for memory and learning, becomes a cage of comparison, ensuring that the golden hues of yesterday always cast a long, dim shadow over the imperfect, but very real, possibilities of today. Ultimately, the pain of remembering a good time is not a flaw. It is the mind's brutally efficient, if somewhat cruel, mechanism for teaching us the true value of impermanence. This exquisite ache, this unique psychological throb, isn't a glitch in our emotional matrix, but a feature designed to sharpen our appreciation for what was, and more profoundly, to subtly drive us toward what could be. The very act of idealizing the past, of filtering out its imperfections, serves to elevate the memory to a status that can only be matched by future aspiration. It's a trick of consciousness. By making the past seem so impossibly perfect, it paradoxically creates an internal void, a longing that can only be filled by actively seeking out new, impactful, and present experiences. The brain isn't tormenting us, it's motivating us, albeit with a rather backhanded psychological shove. The pain is a constant, nagging reminder that the only true way to return to those good times is not through endless nostalgic rumination, but by creating new ones, by engaging fully with the unfolding reality, however imperfect it may seem. This realization is the ultimate mind hack. The bittersweet pang isn't a sign of failure or irretrievable loss, but a powerful, if subtly delivered, directive from your own deepest cognitive functions. It is your mind whispering, or perhaps shouting, that life is lived forward, and the true appreciation of joy lies not in its static preservation, but in its dynamic, ongoing creation. The irony is that the brain engineers this pain not to punish you, but to compel you, through a subtle form of cognitive friction, to keep moving, to keep experiencing, to keep living, understanding that even the most perfect past is ultimately just a foundation for the present moment you have yet to fully inhabit.